We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Genesis Communication Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel for working the dials. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Dahlia and on Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show. All right, so let me kind of get this here. This is not going to be an easy topic. I've talked about this in various stages on the show with the stimulus money. And I don't think people are understanding the gravity of the situation. There are going to be millions of people who are not going to be happy in the coming weeks. Why? Because we have another cluster. All right. So to recap, the government wanted to protect unemployment from happening and dropping. So they started this Paycheck Protection Program. The Paycheck Protection Program was supposed to give money to small businesses or businesses that had under 500 employees. Now, if I ever had a business that had 499 employees, I really wouldn't call that a small business, but I get that. Because if you do have companies with 400 employees or 300 employees or whatever, and you start laying them off, unemployment's going to skyrocket. So we get that. So the government came up with stimulus money, $349 billion, to give to small businesses. But this money was going to be a loan unless you followed certain guidelines. And these guidelines included you hiring back 75% of your staff by a certain time period, keeping them on the payroll, which I think we all agree with, and then using the majority of it for payroll. So, and I apologize, my nose is running because I got bad allergies. So if I have any boogers, I apologize. I love doing this on air. I love cleaning my nose and having to deal with boogers on air. It just is, it's like the best part of media. Yeah. You saw that guy who was interviewed and he just wore a jacket, but he was in shorts. And so you got to see his thighs. Tell you, we do what we have to do. Who cares? That's what coronavirus luckily did. Okay. Nobody's pretty anymore. Nobody's, so hey, now I get to shine. Okay. Now I don't have to compete with pretty people because I could just be me. So this, Payment Protection Program was supposed to protect companies from firing a bunch of people. Well, cluster number one is the money didn't come pretty quickly. The money came slow. So what ended up happening is companies were like, well, look, I don't know where the money's coming from. But we're being told we're going to have to lock down indefinitely until April. We might not be able to open till mid-April. We might not be able to open till May 1st. That was before we saw the progression of things. So companies are like, look, I don't know when we're going to be able to reopen, so we're going to let people go. Meanwhile, the first batch of stimulus money gets sopped up under 2 weeks. Some companies got the money, some companies didn't. Okay? The companies that got the money got their guidelines. They have to rehire their staff. They have to spend 75% of that money they got on payroll. The other 25% could be for rent and utilities. Even though for some people the rent is pretty expensive and, supplies and other things. If you want that stimulus money completely forgiven, where you get it for free, which is a good deal, you need to hire that staff back. If not, all right, then you have to pay plus 1%. Additionally, you can't sit on that money. The second you get that money, your 8-week clock starts ticking. Which means you have 8 weeks to spend that money. 75% for your employees, 25% for rent. You have to hire everybody back. Even if your 8 weeks doesn't start till next month, everybody's got to be rehired by June 30th. Now, remember, a bunch of people didn't get the money. So if they're in the next batch, people awaiting their applications, they don't have a lot of time to rehire everybody, but you can rehire anybody in 5 minutes. Send everybody their letters saying we're rehiring you. Okay? What's been making headlines, which we've discussed, is people on unemployment. Some of them are making more money than they made working because there's that extra $600 per week. Or some of them think that if they're going to get rehired, they're going to make less. So if Disney World, right, will only be able to open back up to 50% capacity or whatever, or bars or restaurants or salons are going to have to open up with less capacity, your tips are going down. So, I mean, for me, I remember managing 4 or 5 tables at once. I would turn those tables over. I would flirt. I would be funny. I would entertain. I'd get the tips. If I was told I had to go back to a restaurant and we could only seat 1 table an hour, I'm going to make less money. So I'm going to say, well, I want to keep my unemployment. Until we get to go back to work full press, maybe I should just stay because I'm making more money on unemployment. But here's the catch. You got employers that just got that government money. If they don't hire back their employees, and soon they have to start paying. Remember, they have to pay 75% of the payroll costs by 8 weeks. So now letters are going out. I don't know if any of you guys have received this letter, but letters are going out saying, hi, Joe Smith, you got your job back. We are rehiring you. You will be now off unemployment and you are now an employee. Even though we're closed, you will get paid, but you are rehired. So you don't collect any more benefits. You're hired. If you don't want to be rehired, check the box saying you don't want your job back. Now, what happens if you check the box saying you don't want your job back? Well, the employer has to tell the government, look, I did what you said. You wanted me to hire 90% of my staff, and I had to start paying their payroll. These people don't want to come back to work. Then that means they're officially fired. If you rehire or quit, if you rehire them and they don't want to come back, then what ends up happening is you need to then tell them, okay, then I have to fire them because I have to hire, you have to basically be at 90% of your payroll or your full-time staff in order to qualify and not have to pay the big, huge loan. Which means now that employee is screwed because now they can't get their unemployment. You see how that works? If they don't want to come back because they are going to make way, way less because they don't have unemployment, and you're not opening at full speed, they're going to lose their unemployment anyway. They're screwed. So now all these employees are going to be forced to take pay cuts or lose their unemployment. See, nobody's talking about that. Small business owners are. They're like, well, wait a second. I either get in trouble with the government or my employees don't get their unemployment. Because remember, if you don't offer them their job back, you get in trouble. So you have to offer them their job back, and if they don't want it, you need to then report that so that you could then hire another employee so you could still be at your 90%. Meanwhile, we're still on lockdown. We're still shut down. So I have some fixes. I always have fixes. I don't want to just sit here and complain and gripe. I got some fixes. But a bunch of you collecting unemployment can lose it the second your boss gets this PPL money. That's why you're seeing all these articles on how employees are ticked. They're like, why the hell did you apply for that money? I don't want to give up unemployment. So, and again, I don't blame them because if your business is not going to open up and have the number of customers or clients, you're going to make less money as an employee. Tips are huge. So here's my fix. Let's change some of those rules around on the employers. If your city or state is on lockdown and you're screwed, allow that 8-week to extend maybe to 12, 20 weeks. But right now you have a lot of small business owners going, I got to offer you your job now. And if not, I got to report that you don't want your job. And that means you're off our unemployment. Now, or B, allow people that don't want to go back to work to then still get their unemployment without the small business owner getting in trouble. I mean, what's interesting about what's going on is they're making rules as they go. They're making this stuff up. This is just, people are just making this up as they go. So if the rules are already changing, I mean, the PPL, it changed midstream so many times since it started. It was originally to stop unemployment. So when businesses under the 500, employees who were $1 million companies and publicly traded companies applied, now they're browbeaten into giving the money back. So the rules keep changing every day. So if the rules keep changing every day, let people who are on unemployment either then stay on unemployment or allow employers to a little bit more room with this whole 8-week thing. So again, the whole purpose of this is to protect the employee. And we are going to see millions of people get letters now that money's being sent to the employers saying you take your job back or you're quitting. And if you're quitting, you lose your unemployment. So that's going to force people to take a paycheck that's less than what they were receiving. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. I want to hear from you. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.